Hey guys, Tiffany Ofili Porter here, where I discuss all things life after sport. In this video, I am going to give you the 5 ways that I was able to lose 60 pounds after having my children. And even if you aren't a woman or a mom and the postpartum aspect does not necessarily apply to your life, these 5 tips are going to be extremely helpful for anybody. They're pretty much universal, minus one that is a little specific to mothers and postpartum moms. But I'm gonna make this a series. This is gonna be kind of how I did it on the diet side, and then I'll do like a series on my workout routine and some of the specific sessions that I did that were very effective in losing that weight. So if that sounds interesting, make sure you continue to watch this video.
With medals on her chest, she's proven her greatness, knows no rest, representing the countries with pride she stands.
So when we're speaking specifically about losing weight postpartum, I really want to push back on the whole snapback culture. I think it could be very detrimental to women's mental state and just the idea that you have to be back to runway thin within a week of having your baby, because that's just not realistic. And even for former professional athletes like myself who are training for the Olympics, yes, it happened quickly for me, but it didn't happen in a week. So give yourself grace, know there's going to be a process. And I think going into it with that mindset is just going to help you on the journey. So we're talking sustainable practices. We're not talking crash diets. We're not talking starvation diets. We're not talking total fasts. I'm giving you the actual things that I did. So number one, I don't want to sound like a cliche, and I don't want you to click off this video and say this is just another fluff video about losing weight, but I want to point out that I really focused on my diet. It's so simple, but yet so difficult at the same time, right? Yes, we know if you eat healthy, you're going to lose weight. But what does that actually mean in practice? Okay, so a little bit of a backstory for those of you who are new here. I was a professional athlete for 12 years. I attended 3 Olympic Games, had been a student athlete essentially my whole life. So when it came to the diet component of losing weight or of just using food as fuel to, have optimal performance, I had that on lock. I knew exactly what I needed to do. However, putting it into practice is what the hard part was. And I didn't really perfect it until I became a professional, because I was able to eat whatever I wanted in college. But the recommendation is, number one, to eat nutrient-dense foods, okay? You really are what you eat. Going out there and choosing a salad over choosing that burger might not necessarily show up the following day after one bad decision, but a series of repeat decisions where you're swapping out those unhealthy foods for healthier options over time is what's going to show the difference. And I think that's why people get discouraged, because they go and they eat a salad, they get on the scale the next day and it hasn't budged, and they're like, I deprived myself from having that fried chicken sandwich and had a salad and I see no difference. It's not going to happen overnight. So you really just need to kind of change your paradigm and realize, listen, if I want to see drastic changes, I have to make drastic changes in the way that I approach it. And, it can be a little bit of a challenge to go out and seek those healthier options, get those salads, eat those veggies, eat those fruits, eat those, high fiber options that are going to keep you full, or, very lean, high quality proteins, because it's going to cost a little bit more and it's going to take maybe a little bit more time to prepare, but in the end, it is worth it. So while I was focusing on the nutrients in my food, because let's be real, I was breastfeeding, and I also wanted to lose the weight healthy, I was really focused on portion control. That to me is really what the key was on my weight loss journey. And in case I didn't mention it before, with my daughter, I lost 70 pounds. And with my son, I lost about 55 and have about 4 more to go before I'm at like my, pre-pregnancy weight with him. And their journeys were very different. I'll get to that in a second. But portion control. So if I really wanted, I don't know, a burger, even though I don't eat meat, or an Impossible burger, a veggie burger, instead of eating the whole sandwich at one sitting, I'll cut it in half. Eat half the sandwich for lunch with the fries, if that's what I fancy at that moment, and then eat the other half for lunch. And you'd be surprised how your body adapts to those smaller portions. And you might not necessarily feel full or stuffed, but you will feel satisfied enough from being able to eat the foods that you want, but just at a more realistic portion size. So really, that was like, I have that listed as number one on this list because that was really the key for me. Eating smaller meals, even if you need to eat more consistently, that's one thing you could also do. Instead of having that, veggie burger all at one sitting, you can even divide it into thirds. Maybe eat a third for a snack, a third during your lunchtime, typical lunchtime hour, and then the other third as a post or a pre-dinner meal. And then by the time dinner comes, you won't be that hungry because you had just had that snack. And in the grand scheme of things, you've consumed the same amount of calories, but you've spread it out. You kind of tricked your body into thinking they're separate meals, and you'd be surprised how much you can accomplish by doing that. So I really want to emphasize that you don't necessarily need to starve yourself. You don't need to completely deprive yourself of the foods that you love. But if you can have some self-control and really hone in on that portion control, baby, you can accomplish so much on a weight loss journey. Now, I'm not necessarily naturally a huge person. So somebody might be like, you don't understand the struggle. You don't understand what it feels like. But I was 214 pounds when I delivered my daughter and 215 when I delivered my son. My racing weight was about 147, okay? So believe me when I say I gained a lot of weight. By the time I reached the Olympics and the height of the track season, I was less than my pre-pregnancy weight just by implementing these different strategies. Number two, incorporate gentle exercise. Now, I'm not going to elaborate too much on this because, many people know exactly what to do when it comes to exercising. And honestly, I'm going to do a separate video, I think, kind of just highlighting what a typical workout week looks like for me as a retired athlete on a fitness journey, because I think that deserves its own video. But I do want to emphasize, whereas I personally believe that weight loss is probably 75 to 80% diet, there is definitely a portion exercise comes into play because you burn calories when you exercise, you get the cardiovascular benefits when you exercise, and you can change your body composition. So if you're doing resistance training like weightlifting, which I do and have been doing and will continue to do on this fitness journey, you're going to see that you're going to have more lean muscle mass versus lots of fat, and you can tone up muscles and just change the way that your body looks. So gentle exercise, to me, it kind of goes without saying. I started walking with my son probably about 4 days postpartum. Now, I had vaginal births for both of my children, and I want to acknowledge that I do realize that the recovery process for women who've had C-sections or maybe even a more complicated vaginal delivery, it might not be that easy. So you need to work within the constraints of what you have. But for me, I was getting stir crazy in the house. So I put my baby in a stroller and we were outside almost immediately after having him because I needed to get out. I needed to feel that fresh air. And to me, I know what it feels like to have that endorphin release from when you are exercising, that I wanted to tap into that as well as early as I could. And honestly, I started doing that every day. The first day was like 10 minutes. It was not long. Second day was 12. And then before you know it, I was up to an hour walking and I was enjoying the process. I had my headphones in and listening to audiobooks or YouTube videos, and it has become a part of my routine, so much so now, 2 years in, where if I don't go walking or I don't go and do some sort of exercise, that it genuinely feels like I'm out of sorts. Something's off, something's wrong. So that gentle exercise does not need to be Olympic level workouts for them to be effective. Now, I was one of those people when I was competing that believed if I'm not going to the track and doing 300s, running hills, doing all this stuff, then it's pointless. Versus now, when I'm kind of on the other side of retirement, I have seen firsthand the benefit that I have from just a simple walk, Now, nowadays, that hour-long walk, I'm getting almost 4 miles in during that time versus, I was struggling to get like 2.5 at the beginning because you build up that stamina. It becomes a part of your routine. And I am still incredibly competitive, so I was trying to push myself every time I went out there to beat my time from before. And it was just a fun way to incorporate those competitive juices while still staying on my routine. So I just want to point out one intense workout that you're out there killing yourself, you're drenched in sweat, you're sore for 7 days afterwards, that you do once a week is not going to be as effective as the moderate exercise that you do every single day or 5 times per week, because that consistency really does pay off. So like I said, I will elaborate more on the specific things that I do and did back then to kind of help me on that weight loss journey, but please do not sleep on the importance of exercise, not only for how you're going to look, but how you're going to feel and how your body's going to function on the inside. Now, number 3, I just want to say I sometimes feel a little bit funny mentioning this because it's almost like out of your control. But when you're on your postpartum journey, you really want to optimize sleep and stress management. Now, hold on, moms, please, new moms, before you come at me and say, really, Tiff, you don't know how it is, because baby, I do. When you have a newborn baby, you are waking up every 2.5 hours to nurse around the clock. And that was the case with my son up until about 5.5 months. With Chi-Chi, I believe she started sleeping through the night about 4 months, and my life changed. I felt like I had a huge part of myself back. With JJ, it was like 5.5 months. I remember specifically the night. It was the night that we gave him solids for the first time. He slept through the night. So take for that what it is. If you want to try that, if you're a new mom looking to kind of get on a better sleep hygiene routine, maybe consider, just being patient until those solids come, because that might be the missing key. But I hate when people say sleep when the baby sleeps, or try not to be stressed, because really, when the baby is sleeping, I have things I want to go and take care of that I can't do when the baby's awake. So I never necessarily subscribed to the sleep when the baby sleeps, because that just wasn't my reality. However, once my son did start sleeping through the night, I make sure that I can control what I can control. So I was not staying up extra long scrolling. I was not, having frivolous conversations during those times, because I knew I need to take advantage of this time. I know the importance of sleep. Like I said, I was an athlete for years. So sleep really does help you optimize performance. Even if you're not an Olympian, if you're a corporate worker, you need your sleep, okay? God created us to be able to sleep daily for a reason. So I knew whenever that child did sleep, that I needed to make sure that I was attempting to do the same, especially at night. So as much as you can, I know it's easier said than done, try to make sure that you can optimize the quality of your sleep. So that means putting your phone away from you so you are not tempted to scroll. If that means turning off your notifications early, if that means no TV before bed, no caffeine. Sometimes alcohol can actually keep you up as well. Just figuring out that sleep hygiene, maybe not necessarily eating huge meals right before you go to sleep so you're not feeling uncomfortable and having indigestion or anything like that. Turning the lights off. My sister does red light therapy at night that she has said has been successful for her. But essentially, all I'm trying to say is figure out ways that you can maximize the sleep that you can have, because that will impact your weight loss. Sometimes people don't appreciate the impact that sleep can have on weight loss, but it is huge. First of all, if you're sleeping, you're going to be less tempted to go and have empty calories or eat when you're really not that hungry, just out of boredom. And when you sleep, your body is restoring itself, your body is repairing, rejuvenating, and there's just so many benefits to getting adequate sleep. So really try to incorporate that. I feel like that sometimes is a fact that is lost on people when they're on a weight loss journey, because they just think diet and exercise, but sleep really does matter. And along those same lines, stress management, trying to figure out the ways that you can alleviate stress. If you have a friend that likes to gossip and, mess with you, maybe tailor back those conversations to kind of protect your peace. If you have found, kind of similar to I have, that watching the news and being overly consuming, politics and all this stuff has a negative effect on your mindset, cut it back. Detach. Do whatever you need to do to protect your peace and to relieve stress in your life in any way possible. It's not only going to be better for you as a human, it's going to help you on your weight loss journey. Number 4, which I feel like is not really a true 4, it's more of like a continuation of the food conversation, is to support your metabolism with small, frequent meals and healthy snacks. Sometimes there is this idea that if there's not a big slab of steak with every meal, and it's not dripping in butter, and you have your Sprite or your Coke on the side, that it's not a true meal. I had to kind of relearn what a meal really was and why I felt the need to overconsume so much. And it's kind of just the way we're taught. When you go to a fast food restaurant and you order a meal, it is way more calories than we typically need. Portion sizes here in America and just in the Western world in general are so large to a point where it's become normal. It is okay to swap out a meal and eat a salad in its place. You're going to feel full. That salad is heavy in water, heavy in nutrients, especially if you're like putting your proteins in there. You can add like some seeds for plant-based protein, or if you're a meat eater, you can do like lean cut meats in there, and you're just like dressing it up with, different things to make it more interesting. That was one thing that I did for a period of time where I felt like I was kind of stuck on my weight loss, where I essentially was eating a salad every single day for lunch for like 2 weeks straight. And just in those 2 weeks, I had lost like 7 pounds. And this is kind of when I was towards the tail end of the weight loss journey. So the weight was coming off a little bit slower. So 7 pounds at that point was very substantial. And I was enjoying them. I was actually looking forward to my salads because they were delicious. I would add like grilled shrimp on there. I would do like Caesar salad, and then sometimes I would do those pre-packaged salads. And instead of using the whole salad dressing, I would use half, because you'll be surprised that you don't need the whole one, because that's really where the calories come in a salad. And to kind of make it even more interesting, I would add salt and pepper, sometimes even seasonings on my salad. You can do so much to dress up a salad that you will be surprised that you get to a point where you're actually craving that more than some of those unhealthier options. So all that to say, that was what kind of worked for me. But when you're on your weight loss journey, you might not be a salad person. You might like warm veggies. Go roast some broccoli and make a broccoli salad, warm salad. There's so many different ways that you can incorporate veggies and healthy eating into your routine to tailor to your own specific preferences and your own taste buds, that sometimes all you just need is that push and that recommendation or just some inspiration. So let me know down in the comments if you would like to kind of see a what I eat in a week kind of video to kind of show you firsthand what it looks like from an actual person currently in the middle of a fitness journey and who used to be a professional athlete in the past. If I get enough interest on that video, I will create it. But essentially just making sure that you're eating frequent, small meals consistently throughout the day, so you're not feeling overly hungry. So by the time that meal comes, lunch or dinner, you don't overconsume because you're not that hungry anyway, because you had been snacking on apples and oranges and all the different things that we already know. You know what healthy food is. For the most part, most people know what a healthy versus an unhealthy meal is. Even my 5-year-old at this point knows. So just challenge yourself to step outside of that comfort zone. And remember, it might be a little bit less exciting at first, but you'll get used to it. It will become a part of your daily routine, and you will find that at the end of the day, that consistency over time is what's going to help you to lose those large amount of pounds and help you on your fitness journey. Last but not least, like I said, there was one point that is specific to postpartum moms. It is breastfeeding. Now, not every mom breastfeeds, nor has the desire or the ability to do so. So if this doesn't necessarily apply to you, then that's okay. This was just one of the aspects that really did help me on my postpartum weight loss journey for both of my children that I would be remiss if I didn't mention. So with breastfeeding, typically, it can help you burn an extra 300 to 500 calories because your body is working to produce the milk and all of the things that go into actually sustaining food for your child. However, a lot of women, including myself, note that they're even hungrier when they're breastfeeding than, before they were. So sometimes, even though you're burning those calories, you're a little bit more inclined to overeat or to, eat more because you are so hungry, so that it kind of cancels out that, weight loss benefit or caloric decrease that you get from the breastfeeding. So knowing that, keep that in mind. You might say, you know what, I know that I'm hungrier. So instead of me having these unhealthy snacks nearby, let me go and have a protein shake that is low in sugar, high in protein, low in calories, that's going to help to keep me full. But with that, you want to keep in mind that when you are breastfeeding, you want to make sure that you are staying hydrated. Listen, I have my water bottle here. This is still a huge part of my routine. This is a liter. I typically, when I'm breastfeeding, can drink up to 4 to 5 liters per day. That's 5, on average 4.5 of these per day. Now, kind of when I got a little bit later in the breastfeeding journey, that went down to 3, and really 3.5, and 3 was kind of like the spot that I settled on. But that's a lot of water. A lot of times people mistake being thirsty for being hungry. We don't drink enough water typically. So when you are at a meal and you are, swapping out the water for the Sprite, you're going to probably drink a little bit less Sprite because it's fizzy, it's going to fill you up. But if you swap that out for water, that's like a 200 calorie swing right there. And trust me, 200 calories is really not that much. But when you add that up over a course of several days, you'll start to see how that can be a substantial difference. So stay hydrated. You'll be surprised that when you're eating, if you drink more water, you're going to realize that you don't need as much food, because sometimes your stomach might not necessarily feel full, but when you go and drink half a liter of water, you're like, oh no, I'm good. And it's not because you're trying to starve yourself. It's because you're just thirsty, sis. Like, you literally just need more water. So water, staying hydrated is beneficial not only when you're breastfeeding, but just when you're on a weight loss journey in general. Do not forget water. The same way that I said sleep sometimes is like the neglected stepsister in this equation, I feel like water also equally sometimes is forgotten. People focus on diet and exercise, but hydration must also be accompanied in that equation for you to see the full benefit of, this lifestyle change that we are all trying to make for our weight loss journey. So that's how I was able to lose 70 pounds with my daughter and about 55 with my son, albeit my journeys were different. I mentioned it before. My son, it took me about a year to achieve that goal. And with my daughter, it happened in 4 months. And by the time 6 months rolled around, I was competing in my very first competition postpartum, training for the Olympic Games that year, because I was a little bit on a time crunch and I didn't have too much time to waste. So that journey back then, I think with my daughter, I probably felt like, oh, this is easy, this is nothing, because I was just so used to being an athlete and training. I kind of had a skewed perception of what it was going to look like. With my son, it was a little bit harder. It took more time. It took a little bit more intentionality because I was no longer training for the Olympic Games. However, in the end, through consistency and these 5 points that I mentioned, I was able to achieve a goal that I was very proud of. So give yourself grace. Every pregnancy is different. Every weight loss journey is going to be different. Tiffany, at 31 years old, being able to lose weight was a little bit easier than it is now at 37. So take all of these things into consideration. I would love to hear down in the comments which of these points you think would be the easiest for you to start incorporating. Do you think portion control would be the easiest for you to do? Do you think maybe increasing to 3 liters of water? Do you think maybe kind of perfecting your sleep regimen is going to help you the most? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to chat with you. I respond to literally everyone. And let me know if you want to hear that part 2 where I show you an actual workout regimen, or part 3 where we go over what we eat in a week to kind of give that practical tip down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.